Okay, so welcome back everyone. So we are on this journey of looking at different variants of gradient descent, and we looked at quite a few of them in the last lecture. And the main takeaways was the idea of momentum, and then how do you correct for momentum, because momentum often takes you very fast. So the correction was done through Nesterov accelerated gradient descent. And then we saw the stochastic and the mini batch versions of these algorithms, and also talked a bit about how do you come up with learning rate schedules, right? And during the discussion at some point, we felt the need for like an adaptive learning rate, right? So when you are on the steep regions, you want the learning rate to be small, and when you're on the gentle regions, you want the learning rate to be fast, right? So that's what I mean by adaptive. So it should look at, okay, how has the history been and where am I currently, and can I accordingly slow down or maybe speed up a bit, right? And the gradients will of course not change. If you're in the steep region, they will be large, and if you're in the gentle region, they will be small, right? You can't do much with the gradients, but then the multiplying factor, which is the learning rate, can you change that so that you can scale up and scale down the updates accordingly, right? So that's the idea that we want to explore in today's lecture, right? So let's first again make a case for it. So here's again a simple neural network. There's a slight change in notation which I had to do because now we have 4 inputs. So it's not a change in notation, just a new notation. So we have these 4 inputs. So far we have been dealing with a simple neural network where we had one input, one bias, and then the output. I'm looking at 4 inputs, x1, x2, x3, x4, and then the bias, which is a constant input of 1. And of course, each of these inputs has an associated weight, w1, w2, w3, w4, right? So we have been using the subscript for the training instance. So there are m training instances x1 to xn, which is x is bold, which is a vector. But now we have these superscripts for the different inputs within a given training instance, right? So now you could think of x as in x as a vector, x1, x2, x3, x4, and this is one input, right? So let's say this is the data about one movie, and there would be many such movies. So say this is the movie 1. So then we have x11, x12, x13, x14, right? So that's the notation that we are using. So these are all the individual inputs that are going to the network, and a collection of such inputs forms one training point or one data point, right? So that's the idea. Okay. And so this is the notation, and now so we have multiple weights now, right? We have w1, w2, w3, w4, and for a minute I have ignored the bias. So now given this network, that it should be easy that for a single data point, right, which is x, and it should have been x comma y, not x comma b, sorry. This should have been y. So a single training point is the input x and the output y. Now if you wanted the derivative of the loss function with respect to w1, which is one of the weights in this network, right? So remember earlier we had derived, when we just had one weight w, we had derived this quantity which was the derivative of the loss function with respect to w, and this is the formula that we had got. And the only thing that has changed is that at that time we had only one input, which was x. Now we have 4 inputs, x1, x2, x3, x4. So if you derive the formula, this part which I have the under braces, that would remain the same, and it would just get multiplied by the appropriate input, right? The input to which the weight corresponds to. Similarly, for the second weight w2, the derivative of the loss function with respect to the weight, right? So this would be so this quantity here is derivative of the loss function with respect to the weight w2, and if you solve for that, you will get this as the answer. And this is not very different from what we had already done, right? So we had this network earlier which was a single input x1, and then you had this constant 1, and in this case when we had taken the loss function and then computed the derivative of the loss function with respect to this weight, the formula that we had got was this multiplied by the corresponding input, which is x, right? And all I am saying is that now if you have 4 different inputs and 4 different weights associated with each of those inputs, then if you take the derivative with respect to any of these weights, the formula will not change, only the last x will get replaced by the appropriate x, right? So you can go and check this, but it should also be straightforward because you have this w transpose x here, which is w1 x1 plus w2 x2 and so on. So when you take the derivative of this quantity, right? So finally, when you apply the chain rule, at some point you will take the derivative of this quantity with respect to W1, and all the other quantities will disappear, and the derivative of this quantity would be x1, right? So that's how this x1 is showing up here, right? So that's the idea. So if there are n points, we can just sum the gradients over all the n points to get the total gradient, right? So what does that mean? That this was with respect to a single point where the input was 1x, but I could have inputs which are x1, x2 all the way up to xm, right? So here I have shown the derivative with respect to one such input. But if you have many inputs, then you will just sum the derivative across all these inputs, right? This we have again done before. So the derivative of derivative of the loss function with respect to W2 would be summation I equal to 1 to m, right? And then you will have this entire quantity inside, and in the end that would be multiplied by x2 of the appropriate I, right? So that's what the derivative would look like, right? So maybe this is not clear here. Let me just undo that. Yeah. So you'll have this. Yeah. So you'll have this term which is in the bracket, and then multiplied by x2 of the corresponding input, right? So that's what the total derivative would look like, right? So you're just the derivative of the loss function with respect to W2 is going to the sum of this quantity that I have shown here, okay? Now what happens if a feature x2 is sparse, right? So x2 is one of the features. So in our oil drilling example, it could be salinity, pressure, temperature, etc. In our movie example, it could be the director, actor, and so on, right? Now if one of these features is sparse, what does that mean? That across all the m training points that I had happened, this feature is always, in many cases, is going to be 0, right? And a classic example for this would be if I have data for the past say 1000 Bollywood movies, right? And if I have one of the features as is actor Amir Khan. Now Amir Khan acts in very few movies. So for these 1000 movies, maybe there would be 4 to 5 movies for which this feature is on, and everywhere else this feature would be 0, right? So that's what a sparse feature looks like. And again, as you can imagine, in real world applications, there are many features which are sparse. Now what's the consequence of that, right? So if my derivative formula that I just showed you as the sum, right, is summation I equal to 1 to m, then that quantity that I just mentioned multiplied by this feature value, right? This is what my derivative is going to be, right? And now if this feature is very sparse, that means when I'm taking this sum, for if this m is equal to 1000, and out of 1000 times, if 990 times this feature is going to be 0, then 990 terms in this derivative are going to be 0, right? That means my total derivative that I'm going to compute is going to be very sparse for features, is going to be very small for weights corresponding to sparse features. Now what's the consequence of that? The consequence of that is that in my any gradient descent based update, my new weight is going to be my old weight, right? So let me just call this new and this old minus eta times whatever derivative I compute. And I've just told you that if x is sparse or that feature is sparse, then the derivative is going to be small. And if the derivative is going to be small, then it means that my updates are going to be small. And if my updates are going to be small, then I'm not making much changes along that direction, right? And that is not something that I desire, right? And now a wish list here would be that if I know my derivatives are going to be small, can my learning rate would have been high for such sparse features? So if the learning rate would have been high, then still my updates would have been larger, right? So this is one more case for having an adaptive learning rate. So we talked about two cases. One is in the steep regions, I want the learning rate to adapt, and in the flat regions, again, I want it to increase, and the steep regions, I want it to be small. The other case is, which is again related, is that if you have sparse features where you know that when you compute the total derivative, it's going to be very small, because in most cases this xi, the circled xi, is going to be 0, and then hence my total derivative is small. And if my total derivative is small, can I just jack up the learning rate so that my updates are a bit larger, right? Because now I don't need to be conservative, because anyways I'm going to get very sparse updates for this feature. Okay, so that's the overall idea. Yeah, so that's what is happening here. Now, why is this important, right? So my weight, now you might say that if this feature is sparse, then why do I care about it, right? I mean, let it not get updates, let those weights not get updated, because then maybe this feature will not contribute much to my final classification. But that's not the case, right? So there could be a case that a feature is sparse as well as important. So returning back to the movie example, right, there could be an actor or a director, right, take maybe Christopher Nolan, who directs very few movies, right, maybe one in few years, right. So if I look at all the data for the past 10 years, maybe we'll have 4 to 5 of his movies, right. But this would be a very important deciding feature, because his movies are generally good, right. So now if you completely ignore that feature, if you are not bothered that, hey, this weights are corresponding to this feature are not getting updated. So whatever initial value you had started, if that value was small and you ran this algorithm for 1000 time steps and this feature got updated only a few times, and that too with very small quantities, then you are missing out on an important feature, right? So it is often the case that the features are sparse, but at the same time they are also important. Whenever they are present, they play a very important role in the decision, right? So that's why you cannot ignore this. So we want these updates to be good, so that we get a good contribution from this feature in our W transpose X plus Y, right? Because W decides how much the feature X contributes, and if that feature, if W is not changing much, you have initialized it to a very small value, and then it's not changing much because the derivatives are small, as I just illustrated, then you are losing out on the information in this feature, right? So you can't let that happen, right? So then can we have a different learning rate for each parameter, which takes care of the frequency of the features, right? So if there are certain features which are very sparse, then you just jack up the learning rate for them, right? And of course, this all has to be done in a non-heuristic, non-hacky way, right? You should just have some equations which automatically take care of, okay, if this was sparse, then the learning rate is adjusted to high value. If this was dense, then the learning rate is adjusted to a small value, right? You cannot, there are millions of features, so you cannot have if, else kind of conditions. You just have to have some equations which inherently take care of this, right? So now you have to convert this intuition to a mathematical equation or to an update rule, right?